We just had a devastating report drop for the Toronto Raptors as news has come out from Shams the Athletic that Jakob Poeltl is going to be out indefinitely. Now, last night we heard the news that he'd be out against the LA Lakers. Some people just wrote it off, oh, it's one game, it should be fine, we might be able to bounce back, but it is much worse than we thought. I held out optimism because in the game where he rolled his ankle, he was able to play the rest of the way, but news has come out from Shams basically indicating that Jakob Poeltl is out. He is not going to be suiting up for the Toronto Raptors for the near future. I'll pull up the report here now saying that the Raptors' Jakob Poeltl will be out indefinitely with a left ankle sprain and will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So, again, indefinitely means we don't know. 2 weeks, it doesn't matter if he's going to be back right away at that 2 weeks or a month from now or a month and a half from now, but this is devastating for this Toronto Raptors team for a multitude of reasons. And a few of them I broke down in last night's video. I mean, after the OG Anunoby trade, we are very thin on that front line. The Toronto Raptors don't have Precious, who again, a lot of people didn't like. He finished off his Raptors tenure being very inconsistent, doing some silly plays and things like that, but he could guard a lot of the big men across the NBA. He's out of the lineup right now. Christian Koloko is still out of the mix. OG Anunoby, some people probably don't recognize it because he's listed as a small forward. He played out there with Pascal and Jakob Poeltl and these guys, but a lot of nights OG Anunoby was guarding the other team's center. So he's also gone. And the Raptors weren't regarded as having a very deep front line in the first place. So now we are going to be relying upon Chris Boucher, who again, has been awesome for the Toronto Raptors as of late. I don't want to diminish or, downplay how well he has been playing for this Raptors group. But Chris Boucher is a power forward. He is a guy that is best apt to be the secondary sort of backside help defender. Yes, he can block shots as sort of a rim protecting guy, but he is not going to be a dude that's going to body down low against the biggest of players in the league. He's a guy that will have some guy on the other side. I mean, OG Anunoby used to do this when he was playing with Chris Boucher. OG would be the strength pushing these bigs off, and then Chris Boucher would come off on the weak side and swat those balls away. I mean, that's Chris Boucher's best skill as a defender. It's not really him being the sort of, wall, the mountain down below to guard the Anthony Davises of the world, the Vince Zubac's, all the players that we're going to be playing over the next few weeks. That is not how Chris Boucher is best utilized. So he's going to need to step up in a big way there, get unorthodox with the defensive styles, including Darko Rajakovic, and figure some stuff out. And then also Jonte Porter, who, again, if people aren't familiar, we made a couple of videos on him recently, but is the recent two-way acquisition for that Masai Ujiri picked up that is a three-point floor spacer. He's the brother of Michael Porter Jr., but he's not extremely mobile. However, he definitely has some strength. So the combination of him and Boucher, I don't know, I guess one of them will be starting now at this point, but we'll have to sort of intermix these two players in terms of figuring some things out. But this is very bad news, and frankly, I'm not 100% sold that that's going to be a long-term, especially if this is a long-term injury, because again, it is an indefinite timeline for when Jakob Poeltl is going to be out. So the Raptors need wins, and they need them fast. That is why this is properly devastating. If the Raptors had this current core group rolling the way they did, they have over the past 4 games over the course of the season, this would mean a lot, less. Yes, we'd fall down the standings a little bit. We might lose some games we would have won, but right now, the fact the Raptors are already in this hole, they're going to need to figure some things out fast. Now, I don't expect a trade to happen right as I'm recording this podcast or a transaction or something along those lines to be made. I just checked my phone. I got a notification as I said that. That would be crazy if I pulled that up. But Masai's probably going to have to do something here. And regardless if Jakob Poeltl was injured or not, I brought it up on recent podcasts. The rebounding has been an issue for this Raptors team. So we needed to sort of beef up our front line after this trade, regardless of what went down. And now it has gotten a lot more desperate. The Raptors are much more urgently going to need to sort of fill that spot. And thankfully, we got Jonte Porter, who has proven to be at least a capable NBA player. Some guy you can throw out there and it's not going to end up horribly for your team. But we're going to need to figure something out. Now, Looking around the league, I've seen Knicks Digest. They're going to post a video today about one potential trade target, but Daniel Gafford of the Washington Wizards is a player that does come to mind. I mean, the Wizards have been horrible this season, and he's been having a solid year. 11 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. He blocks a few shots per game as well as 25. Could actually be a guy that's, decently long-term fit. Would complement Jakob Poeltl fairly nicely. Again, the Wizards are apparently asking for first-round picks to acquire him, so that's a serious risk. If you really believe in this group, you're going all in, then maybe you take that risk on Gafford, but I don't think that's going to be the potential fit, even though I've seen some Raptors fans talk about him like he could be a guy. I don't know, maybe you send Gary out there and you get back Gafford. That might make a little bit more sense, but I don't know. That's if you want to do a big splash. And you also don't have confidence Christian Koloko will return this season, or might not be a guy that's a part of your long-term plans. Because I believe in Christian Koloko, but again, we have no information, no new news on his respiratory issues. So we can just go off of the assumption that he is unable to play for the foreseeable future as well. So Gafford, again, could be a cool fit, could be a cool acquisition, but I think the more likely route, especially where following this OG Anunoby trade, the Raptors ended up opening up a roster spot. They dealt away Malachi Flynn, dealt away Precious Achiuwa, dealt away OG, and only received 2 players in return in RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly. So there is a roster spot opened up. One of the roster spot that was used to acquire Jonte Porter was a 2-way contract. So there is an opportunity for the Toronto Raptors to pick up a free agent in order to sort of fill this hole at the center spot in the short term. And I have to be 100% honest. The options out there are not looking extremely hot. I mean, I actually believe Diallo was just signed by the Washington Wizards, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. Derek Favors, Dieng, I believe Dieng just retired actually as well. But again, these are all guys that are unrestricted free agents, are not on an NBA roster. Montrezl Harrell is an interesting piece, but I believe he tore his ACL as well, so he's not a guy you could potentially get. Again, Haslam's retired. Willie Hernan-Gomez is a player that actually I think would be a decent fit. Has played for the New Orleans Pelicans. Has been pretty good for the New Orleans Pelicans. Obviously, we've had a Hernan-Gomez brother, and he wasn't too great for the Toronto Raptors. The cruise missile, I think I still have that animation up. Maybe we could get the cruise missile's brother in Willie Hernan-Gomez in order to sort of figure out this front line. Again, he's had some big games against the Toronto Raptors in the past. He'd be someone I wouldn't be opposed to sort of bringing in, but Willie's an interesting piece. Serge Ibaka coming back would be very fun for the vibes. I mean, he's a guy that was last seen on the Milwaukee Bucks. From talking to Bucks fans, apparently he wasn't horrible, but defensively he definitely lost a step. So again, that's a huge part of Serge Ibaka's game. He's playing over in Europe now. I believe he's playing in Spain. So I don't know if you're going to be able to get him back, for a potential final run with the Toronto Raptors. But again, Serge would be just cool for the memories and stuff. But, there's other players on this list. I mean, if we're desperate enough and we want floor spacing, Myers Leonard. I won't dive into the controversy around bringing him in, but at least he's a guy that doesn't seem like age-wise, he's completely washed, but I'm definitely not going to be coming out here singing for Masai Ujiri to sort of bring in Myers Leonard. But Nerlens Noel's also a player that's dealt with injuries over the course of his career, but again, offensively, he's a little bit of a liability, but can play a lot of defense. But the wildest pick, the wildest direction that we could go, which frankly could be crazy. It might be so crazy that it ends up working out. But there's a player with a lot of potential that we saw on that list. I purposely skipped him over. That has a lot of potential in the NBA. Had some highlight plays, dunking on Wemby and all that type of stuff. Had an absolutely ludicrous offseason. Tweaking out there on live streams. He's out there making crazy statements on Twitter, saying that he demands a trade from Charlotte, talking to the front office. One of the most wild guys to watch the story of him in the offseason, but definitely has a lot of potential as a basketball player. But Kai Jones is an unrestricted free agent right now at this point. Again, was a lottery pick for the Charlotte Hornets a couple seasons ago. Has some potential, and this is complete just in the back of my brain. I tried scanning for it on Google. I tried giving it a little search for it. So don't take this as complete facts, but I think the Raptors may have been linked to Kai Jones at some point in the past year and a half. I just recall that being a thing. Don't take that at face value. I could just be in the throwing stuff at a wall there. My brain is just thinking about it could happen. But I mean, Kai Jones is an athletic, long, big center that would be getting an opportunity with the Toronto Raptors. Again, From the reports, he went on a podcast recently and seemed like a normal dude in terms of what was going on. Said he was dealing with some things mentally and the trade request and things like that. So again, specific controlled podcast and then actively just looking crazy out there on live streams. I mean, those are two different worlds. And if it's going to completely disrupt the locker room, I'm not going to be someone calling for Kai Jones to be coming in here. But if the Raptors are going to take a risk on a young big man, and one thing about Toronto that has always been the case is we're not like the Charlotte Hornets. We're pretty good at building a solid culture in terms of players not acting out like crazy on the roster. Again, there are some exceptions that we've had in the recent past, but the Raptors might be able to get something out of Kai Jones, especially with this opportunity that's kind of presented itself here. Again, not going to be here swinging the Kai Jones flag, but it's probably the most interesting piece on this list in terms of players. But I wouldn't be shocked if we see a move coming, just sort of because the Raptors need to capitalize on this window. We need to get back into the mix. We're looking really good. We have some talent on this roster. We don't want it to be a wasted season where we don't have a draft pick and then we also sort of miss out on the playoffs. So winning games is coming very important right now for the Toronto Raptors, and it looks like we can do it the way the Raptors have been getting some W's as of late. So expect Masai Ujiri to make a little shakeup, whether it's a trade, whether it's an acquisition in free agency. We have that open roster spot, but wishing the best for Jakob Poeltl because he has been playing a lot better as of late. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys are the best for making this far. Again, didn't plug it there at the beginning of this one. I have another video sort of scheduled for tonight, but 57% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel. I believe we likely have crossed 32,000 subscribers once this is posted, so appreciate everyone who's been subbing to the channel. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.